Good evening. Tonight, we're settling into a medieval battlefield camp. Not the clash of swords, but the still hours between. It smells of iron, smoke, and wet wool. You're not fighting yet. You're just waiting. Maybe quiet stories like this help you breathe a little easier. If they do, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if that quiet feels welcome tonight. And if you'd like, share in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's a quiet comfort knowing we're all here, even from far apart. Now, lower the lights, settle in, and we'll ease our way back, slowly, into a medieval battlefield camp. You wake before the sun, not from peace, not from habit, but from the thick, suffocating stench of bodies, wet leather, smoke, and something else. Something sour, like rotting meat and cold metal. A dog is barking somewhere nearby, frantic and hoarse, and someone is yelling, not in command, but in pain or anger, or maybe both. For a moment you lie still, trying to remember where you are. The earth beneath you is damp and uneven, your cheek pressed into a patch of hardened mud. You shift, and something sharp jabs your ribs through the thin cloth between you and the ground. You ache in places you didn't know could ache. Your fingers are stiff from the cold, curled inward as if your hands have given up on being useful. This is not your bed, and it never was. This is the edge of war. You try to sit up, but your back protests, and your head spins with the remnants of last night. Not drink, not sleep, but the half-conscious blur of exhaustion. The air is heavy with moisture, clinging to your skin like mildew. All around you, the camp is beginning to stir. Not with purpose, but with groans, coughs, the scrape of boots against earth, and the low rustle of canvas. A man nearby hawks something thick from his throat and spits it out beside the fire pit. The embers are cold, no one bothered to keep them going. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders, though it offers little comfort. It's still damp from yesterday's rain, or maybe from the sweat and fear that soaked into it during the last skirmish. You don't remember. It all blurs together now. A gust of wind slides through the camp, lifting the edges of tents, carrying with it the scent of dung and smoke and boiled onions. You breathe through your mouth, but that's no better. A soldier nearby mutters curses in a dialect you barely recognize. His voice is low, his eyes still half closed. Another man is already pacing, shaking the stiffness from his legs, armor clanking softly with each step. You recognize none of their names, though you've seen their faces enough times. That's how it is here. Everyone is temporary. No one asks too many questions. You slept beside them, and you might die beside them, but no one really knows you. And that might be the safest thing. Somewhere to the east, the first pale stripe of light is beginning to creep across the horizon, but it feels more like a warning than a promise. Your mouth is dry, your lips cracked. You reach for your flask, find it empty, and set it back down without comment. There's a small pile of ashes near your feet, what was left of last night's heat. You try to rub your hands together for warmth, but they're too numb to respond properly. In the distance, a horse snorts, stamping the frozen ground. You hear a command shouted faintly, followed by more barking. There's no rhythm here, no routine that feels sane, only need, only orders, only waiting for something worse. And you, sitting half upright in your ragged cloak, with armor that doesn't quite fit and thoughts that won't stay still, you're just one more shape in the grey, shivering landscape of a battlefield camp before dawn. You shift your weight, trying to rise, but the ground clings to you like a second skin. The mud beneath your knees is thick and cold, soaked from last night's drizzle and churned by too many boots. It isn't soil anymore. It's a kind of living paste, dark with ash, grease, and whatever leaks from horses and men. Your fingers sink into it when you push yourself up, and you can feel the grit under your nails already. Somewhere deep in the muck is the imprint of your own body from the night before, a shallow dip in the filth where your hip had pressed down for hours. You wipe your hands on your cloak, but the fabric is just as wet. Everything is. There is no dry surface left in this place. Only wet, cold earth and the sense that the camp is slowly melting into it. Above you, the air is heavy with smoke. It's not rising in clean plumes, but hanging low, thick as wool, dragging itself through the tents and fires like it belongs here more than you do. It catches in your throat before you even speak. Your eyes water. The smoke doesn't sting, not sharply, but it seeps. It fills your nostrils and wraps around your tongue, coats your teeth, makes everything taste like scorched wood and yesterday's fire. You hear the occasional crackle of something still burning, though you don't know what. Wood is scarce. Most fires in the camp are fed with whatever can be torn down, broken up or stolen. Planks from carts, splinters of old shields, even dried dung. It all burns, eventually. Just not cleanly. You cough, softly, but it echoes louder than you expected in the strange morning hush. You try to step forward, but your foot sinks again. It's not deep, ankle high maybe, but it pulls at you, resists, makes even walking feel like work. The mud has swallowed pieces of camp life whole. A snapped belt, a broken spoon, a boot half submerged and long forgotten. You pass a row of tents sagging under the weight of the damp air, their ropes slack, their canvas dark with moisture. Some have collapsed entirely, their contents spilling out, armor, linens, bodies. One man still sleeps on his back, mouth open, his breath rising visibly into the smoky sky. You're not sure if he's alive. You don't stop to check. The smoke plays tricks like that. It makes everything look distant, blurred, like a memory you're trying not to recall. The outlines of trees on the horizon shimmer faintly, as if even nature wants to be somewhere else. You pull your cloak tighter and hunch your shoulders, instinctively trying to shield your face. But there's no direction to hide from. The smoke is everywhere. It sinks with you into the folds of your clothing, clings to your hair, creeps into your ears. The mud squelches with every step, and your boots grow heavier by the minute. You hear voices now, low, clipped exchanges between soldiers, the rustle of chainmail, the slow scrape of someone sharpening a blade. Everything sounds close, but looks far. The sun hasn't quite broken through, and maybe it won't. The sky is a flat, indifferent grey. You wonder if it's morning at all, or just another version of the same dull shadow that's been hanging over you since you arrived. And as you walk, breathing in fire and earth, you realize there's no such thing as fresh air here, only smoke that hasn't cooled yet. You try to retrace the night in your mind, but it doesn't come back in order. There was no real arrival, no clear moment where you chose a place to rest. You remember wandering through rows of tents and half-buried carts, searching for a space not already taken by armor, piss, or someone else's limbs. Now, as you squint around, unsure of where your feet even landed, you realize you didn't so much fall asleep as collapse. The edges of the memory are soft, like everything else here. Maybe it was near the ditch, where the ground sloped just enough to catch the rainwater. Or maybe it was behind that broken wagon, the one that leaned to the left like a drunkard. You try to orient yourself, but the camp shifts in the haze. It's all the same shades of brown and grey, and there are no markers, no signs. Only forms, only smells, only guesses. You look down at the impression in the dirt where you must have been lying. It isn't a bed, it's just a dent, slightly darker and wetter than the ground around it, shaped vaguely like a curled body. A few crushed weeds cling to the edge. One of your boots had slipped off in the night, not all the way, just enough to let the damp seep in. Your back hurts, but you can't tell if it's from cold, tension, or the rocks pressed beneath you. There's a patch of something black stuck to your sleeve. You brush it off, and it leaves a smear. You sniff it. Grease maybe, or soot, or blood. It's hard to care. Your shoulder itches, but when you scratch, the skin feels raw, and you stop. The camp doesn't just get into your clothes. It finds your body and starts making itself at home. As you stand there, trying to find your bearings, you spot a familiar shape a few steps away, a pile of sacks under a torn tarp. It looks vaguely like the place you remember passing just before night swallowed everything. That might have been where you curled up, or maybe someone else was already there. You have no way to know. You turn slowly, letting your eyes sweep across the camp, but nothing clicks. It's like waking up inside someone else's story. A boy jogs past you, bare feet splashing in the muck. His shirt is too big and stained dark along the collar. He doesn't look at you. No one really does, not in the morning. It's like shame. Everyone has their own and no one needs more. You kneel for a moment, reaching into your satchel. Inside, the few things you carry feel damp and soft. There's a cloth you once used as a pillow, now soaked through, a crust of something that used to be bread. You press your palm to your face and breathe against it, trying to feel human again, but it doesn't work. Your face is sticky with sweat and grit. You don't remember if you dreamed. You're not sure it matters. Sleep, here, is more like a pause, a dull drop into unconsciousness, where the body shuts down just enough to not die. And when you wake, like now, there's no moment of clarity, no warmth, no comfort, just the question, where did I sleep? And the quiet realization that it doesn't matter, because tonight you'll do it again, somewhere else, or nowhere at all. Your fingers are still numb as you fumble with the strap of your satchel, hoping there's something left inside that resembles food. The cold seeps deep into your joints, making even simple movements feel slow and distant, like you're operating someone else's hands. You manage to open the flap, and inside, beneath the fold of damp cloth and a smear of ash, is a hard lump of bread. It's not wrapped, not protected, just sitting there like a stone, dense and misshapen. You knock it against your knuckle, and it doesn't give. It was likely baked days ago, maybe longer, and left to dry in the open air. Still, it's yours. That much you know. You break a piece off with some effort, flaking crumbs onto the mud, and bring it to your mouth with fingers that no longer obey you entirely. It tastes like chalk and old sweat, and it takes more effort to chew than it seems worth. But you chew anyway. Across the camp, others are doing the same. There's no shared meal, no table, no ritual, just scattered figures sitting on crates, stones, or the bare ground, each turning inward toward their own quiet hunger. A few have gathered near the cook pit, where the remnants of last night's stew still cling to the iron walls of the cauldron. The fire underneath is barely alive, a few sullen coals and wisps of smoke, more symbolic than useful. A man leans over it with a spoon, scraping the bottom, trying to loosen what's hardened into the shape of desperation. You rise, slowly, and drift toward the warmth, not from hope, but habit. Maybe there's something left. Maybe someone will share. But already, there are too many hands reaching in, some holding bowls, others just fingers curled into claws. You join the circle around the pot. No one speaks. Someone coughs. Someone else curses under their breath. The smoke curls between faces like a snake. The cook, or the man pretending to be one, scoops out a grey lump into a bowl and shoves it forward without looking. Another man takes it and walks away, hunched like he's guarding treasure. You wait your turn, trying not to seem eager. Your stomach isn't empty, it's just confused. It doesn't growl anymore. It feels folded in on itself, like it's given up. When the ladle finally dips again, it comes up half full. Not soup, not porridge, just thick, lukewarm paste with flecks of something green, maybe onion. Maybe not. The man in front of you takes it before you can move. The next scoop is thinner. Your hand twitches. The cook sees you, then turns away. There is no next scoop. You back away, chewing again on the hard crust in your hand. It's not bread anymore, just a task, something to do while the others eat, or try to. A few soldiers barter near a tent pole, one holding out a sliver of dried meat, the other offering what looks like a boiled root. Their words are low and quick. You watch, but don't step closer. You have nothing to trade. Yesterday, someone gave away their belt for a handful of beans. Someone else sold a comb, a button, a lock of hair. In the camp, hunger turns everything into currency, and everyone into merchants of shame. You look at your own hands again, the crust still clenched in your palm. It's too cold to finish, but you don't throw it away. You tuck it back into your satchel, as if that will save it from time, from mold, from rats, as if anything can be saved here. There's a dog nearby, thin and patchy, licking the inside of a broken cup. A child runs past and tries to shoo it with a stick, but the dog doesn't even flinch. It just keeps licking, its ribs trembling under the thin skin. You wonder where it came from, if it followed the soldiers or belonged to one. Maybe it's like you, just caught here by accident. You turn away. The wind picks up a little, cutting between the tents and stirring the smoke again. The cold bread sits like a stone in your gut, not nourishing, but anchoring you. You're no warmer, no stronger, no more ready than you were a few minutes ago. But the camp is moving now, and you have to move with it. Breakfast is over, or it never really began. The camp doesn't wake all at once. It stirs in patches, like a field of half-buried creatures unsure whether it's morning or still the same long night. One man stands slowly, dragging his foot as if it were someone else's limb, stiff and swollen. Another sits up in a puddle without realizing it, blinking hard against the smoke as if trying to remember where his eyes are. A third is already on his knees, muttering prayers through cracked lips, his breath fogging in the chill, the words too quiet to carry. There's no bell, no trumpet, no formal signal. Only instinct. Only the subtle shift from silence to motion. You watch as shapes pull themselves upright, hunched and limping, coughing and spitting, as though the ground itself were reluctantly returning them to the world. These aren't soldiers rising for glory. These are men waking for another round of endurance. Some tend to themselves with the slow deliberation of the broken, binding ankles, flexing stiff fingers, adjusting straps that dug into skin while they slept. A few move with urgency, their eyes darting like prey, sensing something wrong. You see one man rummaging in a sack, clearly frantic, pulling out a rag, a blade, a dried gourd, then shoving it all back with the same speed. Maybe he lost something. Maybe he forgot who he is. Another leans against a cartwheel, his face pale and waxy, a tremor in his hand as he tries to light something that won't catch. The smoke has thickened again, and with it comes a wave of coughing, dry and wet, weak and barking. No one says, "Bless you." No one looks up. There's no politeness here, not in the morning. Only the sound of boots squelching in mud and the rustle of wet canvas being tugged, shifted, or torn. A woman walks past, barefoot, her skirt soaked to the knees, carrying a pot that sloshes with something too dark to be clean water. She doesn't look at you. No one does, unless they have to. A boy trails behind her, no older than 10, wrapped in a woolen shawl too big for his frame, clutching a length of rope like it means something. You wonder if he's hers, or if he just follows her because she still moves with purpose. In the distance you hear the thud of a hammer, someone fixing a wheel or driving a spike or beating something into submission. The rhythm is slow, methodical, not hurrying, just working. You step aside as two men carry a barrel between them, slipping with each step but not falling. Their faces are unreadable, set like masks. Everyone here wears that look, a kind of practiced emptiness that keeps the world at arm's length. Some men speak quietly to each other, trading words like coins. Others say nothing, eyes down, shoulders bent. You catch fragments of conversation, a name, a curse, a question with no reply. One man is sharpening a knife on the edge of a stone, the sound grating and rhythmic, almost calming. Another is adjusting the straps of his armor, buckling and unbuckling the same loop again and again, as if trying to remember how it works. Horses stamp nearby, their breath visible in the cold, heads low and ears twitching. One kicks the ground, another whinnies softly, not fear, just restlessness. You take it all in without moving, just standing at the edge of the stirring. Your legs ache, your back feels like a plank of frozen wood, and your stomach is still twisted in on itself. But the camp is rising now, and soon you'll have to join it. Not because you're ready, but because stillness here is its own kind of death. Eventually, your body insists. There's no dignity to it, just a slow growing pressure in your gut and a dull ache low in your belly. You try to ignore it, but it doesn't go away. It never does. Nature has no respect for fear or hunger or frost. You glance around the camp, looking for a direction that promises privacy or at least less shame. But every path is the same. Lines of tents leaning like exhausted men, scattered debris, fire pits choked with ash, and mud. Always the mud. You pick your way past the edge of the sleeping area, past the wagons and carts, past a slumped soldier still snoring with his head in a helmet. You don't ask, you don't speak, you just walk with your head low and your boots sinking deeper than they did yesterday. The filth grips your soles like it wants to keep you. Each step lands with a sound you'd rather not hear. The stench reaches you before you arrive. It always does. A wall of odour, thick and oily, rising from a trench dug half-heartedly behind the tents, shallow, overused, barely disguised with straw or dirt. You gag a little as you approach, not because the smell is unfamiliar, but because it reminds you of the worst parts of being alive. Rot, excrement, bile, old meat. You've smelled corpses, and this is worse. At least the dead are quiet. Here, it's all active. Steaming piles, buzzing flies, the wet slap of someone ahead of you doing what they must. A man squats at the far edge of the pit, back turned, cloak hitched up, face lowered in shame. You give him space, though there isn't much. Another figure approaches behind you, and you speed up, unwilling to share the moment more than necessary. You find a spot that isn't too soft, isn't too crowded, and turn your face away from the camp. Squatting is its own kind of battle. Your knees burn, your thighs tremble, and the cold air bites everywhere your clothing doesn't cover. You try to breathe through your mouth, but it's no better. The smell curls into your throat like smoke, thick and persistent. Flies land on your hands, your face, your food satchel still slung over your shoulder. You batter them away with a flick, but they always come back. Around the edges of the trench, someone's tried to build a crude barrier out of sticks and branches, but it only adds to the sense of decay. The wood is warped and blackened, like even nature is ashamed of what's happening here. You finish quickly, not because you're done, but because you can't bear another second. Your legs shake as you stand, and for a moment you think you might fall backward into the pit. The panic gives you strength, and you lurch forward, heart racing, breath short. There's no water to wash your hands, no cloth, no ritual of cleanliness, just mud and cold and the lingering scent of everything wrong with this place. You wipe your palms on your cloak, knowing it won't help. It only spreads the filth. As you return toward the tents, you pass others on the same march, some young, some old, some hollow-eyed and silent. No one looks at each other, no one speaks. The latrine is not a place of camaraderie. It is a place where the illusion of humanity thins to nothing. You feel it in your body now, in your lungs, on your skin. The air doesn't cleanse you. The breeze doesn't carry anything away. It only moves the smell from one place to another. You reach your tent, or the space that resembles one, and sit back down in the mud, not to rest, but to recover. Your stomach churns, your hands tremble. The day hasn't even started, and already you feel stained. From the inside out. You stare at the chainmail for a long time before touching it. It lies crumpled like a dead thing, dull and wet, with bits of straw and dirt caught in the links. It's not yours. Nothing here is. The man it once belonged to is probably rotting in a ditch or buried in a trench too shallow to keep the dogs away. When you found it, no one claimed it, and that was enough. Now it sits in your arms like an accusation, too wide at the shoulders, too short at the waist, sleeves uneven, one torn open at the seam. You lift it slowly. It's heavier than you remember. It always is. Cold too, like lifting a soaked rug left out in the frost. The links clink softly as you shift your grip. Your fingers struggle to hold it properly. The weight isn't just physical, it's the promise of what comes after. The noise, the heat, the steel against bone. You try not to think that far ahead. Slipping it over your head is like crawling into a memory that doesn't belong to you. The opening catches on your chin, then your ears, then your elbows. It folds around you in the wrong places, pinching one shoulder and hanging loose from the other. You tug and pull and adjust, but the mail resists, stubborn and foreign. A strap digs into your side, but you ignore it. There's no comfort in armor. There's only function. At least, that's what they say. You try to fasten the buckles near your ribs, but the leather is stiff, the holes stretched and frayed. Your fingers are clumsy. It takes longer than it should, and by the time you're done, your breath is coming harder and your forehead is damp. Not from effort alone, but from the rising panic that always comes with the ritual of dressing for death. Because that's what this is. Not preparation for battle, just dressing up for the possibility that you might survive it. Nearby, others are doing the same. Some with precision, like they've done it 100 times. Others with trembling hands and eyes that can't quite focus. A man tightens the straps on his greaves and grunts in frustration when the leather snaps. Another curses at a missing helmet. No one offers help. Everyone is too absorbed in their own little war with metal and cloth. You spot one soldier with armor that actually fits. Polished, well-oiled, curved to his frame like it was made for him. He has a scar across his chin and eyes that look through you like you're not even real. He doesn't speak, but the message is clear. You're not one of them. Not really. You're a borrowed shape in borrowed skin, and the armor doesn't lie. It never does. When you try to move, it's like dragging yourself through wet sand. Every step feels exaggerated. The mail shifts and sways, and you can feel the bruises from yesterday pressing up against the new friction of today. The cold has seeped into the links, and now it wraps around your chest like ice. Your breath fogs in the air and catches in your throat. You roll your shoulders, trying to get used to the imbalance, the weight, the way the collar bites into the base of your neck. It doesn't help. It never does. You're not built for this. Not for war, not for steel, not for the unspoken code that says if you complain, you die alone. You reach for your belt, tighten it to keep the mail from dragging too low, and wince as it presses into your stomach. Somewhere behind you, a horn sounds, low, distant, a reminder. You adjust your stance, shake out your arms, and try to breathe like it's just another day, but all you can feel is the metal, heavy, sharp, unfamiliar, and the quiet certainty that it won't protect you. Not really. It'll just keep your pieces together a little longer when the blade finds you. The sword sits where you left it last night, half buried in mud, leaning against a splintered crate, with dried streaks of something you hope was just old rust. You crouch beside it, pick it up with both hands, and feel the weight settle into your arms. It's heavier than it looks, not with mass, but with fatigue. This isn't some nobleman's blade, balanced and sharp and etched with pride. It's a crude, overused length of iron, dull along the edge, chipped near the tip, the leather grips slick with old sweat and grime. You run your thumb along the flat side, not the edge, and feel nothing. No bite, no threat, just cold metal pretending to be a weapon. You hold it out in front of you for a moment, testing the heft, and it sags at the wrist like a dead limb. You could swing it, yes, you could make it kill something, but only if luck stepped in to help. You glance around. Other men are checking their weapons too. One is hunched over a blade, whetstone rasping in tight, angry strokes, jaw clenched like the motion is the only thing keeping him from breaking. Another man wipes his spear with a cloth so tattered it's barely cloth anymore, just thread and wishful thinking. A younger soldier, too young to be here, holds his dagger like it's still a toy, turning it over in his palms and trying to look confident. No one looks particularly ready. Some won't even check their blades at all, not because they forgot, but because it doesn't matter. You know that feeling, the quiet understanding that a sharp sword won't make the difference. Not today, not with what's coming. You stare at your own blade again and wonder if it's worth sharpening, if it would make you feel better, if it would change anything at all. Your hands tighten around the hilt, your fingers are stiff, your knuckles cracked, your nails rimmed with dried dirt. You try to recall the last time you used this sword in real combat. Not training, not bluster, but the sick, close-up mess of real battle. You remember too much. The weight of the swing, the resistance when it hits bone, the way sound disappears when your breath runs out and your heart starts beating in your throat. You try to breathe now, but it comes shallow, fast. You tell yourself to calm down, but the fear is already coiled somewhere behind your ribs, spreading through your limbs like rot. This isn't panic. This is the quiet unraveling of nerves under the pressure of certainty, because there's no question anymore. No chance it might be a false alarm. Today, they'll send you forward. Today, they'll expect you to use this thing like it still matters. You lower the sword slowly, rest it across your lap, and sit back on your heels. Around you, The camp is shifting toward motion. Voices louder, footsteps quicker, the scrape of metal and wood more frequent. You should be moving too. You should be ready. But all you can do is stare at the blade, at the dings and cracks, at the places where blood once dried and was never cleaned off properly. This isn't a weapon. It's a mirror. It reflects what you've become in this place. Not a warrior, not a hero, just a man with a piece of metal and a job he doesn't want. You run your hand along the edge one last time, feel its dullness, and nod to yourself. It's not sharp, neither are you. And that will have to be enough, because no one's going to hand you a better sword, and no one's going to come check if you're brave enough. They'll just point and expect you to walk forward. The voice cuts through the camp like a blade, raw, ragged, and too loud for this hour. It doesn't ask, it doesn't explain, it simply barks. You hear the words, but they don't form sentences in your head. Not clearly. Just shapes, fragments, all drowned by the noise inside your own chest. It could be your name, or your unit, or some direction you're expected to follow. You're not sure. The tone is what matters, and the tone says one thing. Get ready. Not in a day, not this afternoon. Now. You glance toward the sound. A tall man, wrapped in a worn cloak, armored unevenly, pacing between the tents like a wolf whose cage has grown too small. His mouth is open, his hand raised, his eyes already angry. He shouts again. Someone responds. You don't. Not yet. You're not even sure if he's speaking to you. Others react faster. Men around you scramble to their feet, tightening belts, strapping shields, checking for boots and blades and anything they might have forgotten in the last hour. A few move with precision, as if they'd been waiting for this all morning, as if their breath had been stuck in their throats until now. One man drops a helmet and curses, then kicks it, then picks it up again with shaking hands. Another fumbles with the buckle of his breastplate, muttering prayers that sound more like bargains. You stay still a second longer, trying to keep your hands from trembling. The commander's voice rises again, louder this time, and more frantic. It echoes off the canvas walls, off the wooden carts, off the dull armor that surrounds you. You don't need a full sentence to know what's coming. You've heard enough in the past weeks to recognize the rhythm. First the tone, then the panic, then the blood. You finally stand, adjusting your sword where it hangs at your hip. It feels wrong. Too high, too loose, too visible, but there's no time to fix it. You look around, searching for someone who might explain, might translate the shouting into something human. But everyone is focused inward, eyes down, brows tight, mouths set in the same thin line. You see the fear hiding behind the actions, the quick movements, the pointless checks, the repeated gestures. One man counts his arrows, then counts them again. Another drinks from a flask that's already empty. A boy beside you, no older than 16, ties and reties a strip of cloth around his wrist. A talisman maybe. Or maybe he just doesn't know what else to do with his hands. You want to speak, to ask what they heard, to ask when. But you don't. Because asking would mean admitting you didn't hear. And that might be enough to mark you as weak. The commander's figure grows smaller as he moves through the rows, his voice still sharp, still relentless. You wonder if he believes what he's saying, or if shouting is just the last thing he has left. A horse neighs in the distance. A cart creaks. Somewhere, a dog is barking again. The sounds are ordinary, almost calming, but they sit wrong against the tension rising through the camp. The men begin to form lines, loose, disorganized, not quite ready. The camp isn't built for order, it's built for waiting. Now that waiting is ending, the cracks begin to show. You fall into place behind a man whose armor smells like oil and garlic, his shoulders hunched as if bracing for a blow. You don't ask where you're going. You don't ask what the target is. You don't need to. The order has been given. You felt it in the commander's voice, not in the content, but in the weight. The message was clear. Soon. Maybe too soon. Maybe not soon enough. But definitely today. You're standing now. Not because you were told to, not because you're ready, but because everyone else is. The line stretches out on either side of you, uneven and shifting, a row of bodies half-armored and half awake, staring ahead at nothing. You grip your sword loosely in one hand and press the other against your thigh, trying to ground yourself in the mud. Time has changed. It no longer passes like it should. Every second stretches like cooling wax, slow and sticky and silent. You glance toward the horizon, hoping for movement, a signal, anything, but the world stays still. Even the birds have stopped. You can feel your back tightening, the chainmail biting into the slope of your shoulders, digging into your collarbone where the padding wore thin. There's nowhere to lean, no rock, no tree, no escape, just posture and stillness and the growing weight of waiting. Your breath starts to feel unnatural, too fast or too shallow. You try to slow it, count the inhales, focus on the rhythm, but it won't settle. Your chest rises unevenly and your heart hammers like it's trying to get out. Not just nerves, not just fear, something older than thought, a pulse that wants to run, that doesn't understand why your feet are still rooted in the muck. You shift your weight, but there's no comfort to find. The cold from the ground is creeping upward through your boots, soaking your socks, stiffening your toes. One foot begins to go numb, and you try to wiggle it discreetly. Behind you, someone coughs. To your left, a man mutters something under his breath. Maybe a prayer, maybe just counting. His lips move with mechanical precision, over and over. You don't ask. There are no conversations anymore, just shared silence filled with shallow movement and the sound of bodies holding back panic. You try to remember what time it is, how long you've been standing here. 10 minutes? 20? More. You blink hard, then glance upward, but the sky offers no help. Just the same dull lid of grey cloud, no sun, no hint of change. Somewhere deeper in camp, a pot clatters, followed by a shout, but no one turns their head. You think about sitting, just for a moment, but you know what that would look like. What it would mean. So you stay. One shoulder drops lower than the other. You adjust. The sword feels heavier with each passing minute, as if absorbing the weight of your thoughts. Your fingers ache from gripping it too tight. You loosen them, then tighten again. A game. A rhythm. Something to do while you pretend this isn't happening. While you pretend the worst part isn't the battle, it's the waiting before it. You think about strange things now, the way your mother's bread used to smell, the sound of rain on the roof when you were small, the colour of your sister's cloak, things that don't belong here, things that float up because your mind is trying to save itself. One man near the front adjusts his helmet again and again, pulling it down, then lifting it back. He's sweating. So are you. Under all the cold, under all the steel, your skin is damp and hot. You can feel a drop running down your spine. You blink again, not from fatigue, but because your vision is starting to blur around the edges. You clench your jaw, your tongue is dry, your stomach flutters, and still, no signal, no horn, no movement, just the pressure building like a storm that won't break. And the awful, electric truth that this stillness is not peace. It's the space before noise, the inhale before the scream, and you're trapped in it, heartbeat racing, back aching, eyes fixed forward, waiting for someone to shout, or for everything to fall apart on its own. They come quietly, as if they know they shouldn't be seen. A slow procession, moving along the ragged edge of the formation. Not soldiers, not commanders, not even part of the camp in the official sense. Women with bundled shawls pulled over their heads, children trailing behind with bare feet and blank expressions. Old men bent at the waist, leaning on sticks or carts or each other. They move between the rows like ghosts, careful not to meet anyone's eye, but you feel them passing all the same. It's not a march and not quite an escape. It's something else. The silent migration of those who've learned to live in the shadow of war without pretending they're part of it. One girl clutches a wooden bowl to her chest like it's the last thing she owns. A woman behind her carries a sack that drips. No one asks with what. They're not here to inspire or comfort. They're here to disappear, to move their cooking pots and bedding and trinkets away from the line that might soon dissolve into screaming. Some still cling to rolls, a washerwoman with cracked hands, a healer with herbs tied to her belt. a boy who once sharpened blades for coin. But none of them look at you like you're real anymore. Not now. Not with your sword drawn and your armor buckled and your face frozen in the kind of fear that doesn't need words. You hear one of them whisper something. You can't make out the words. And another replies with a shrug. They speak in the language of loss, of preparation, of repetition. This isn't their first time packing up just before the killing starts. And they move like people who know how to vanish. The line doesn't break for them. You don't move. No one does. They weave through the gaps like smoke, like a funeral winding through a town that doesn't want to be reminded of death. A boy stumbles and drops something, a pot or a bowl, and it rolls under someone's feet. The soldier doesn't kick it. He doesn't flinch. He just lets it sit there, half buried in mud as the boy runs to retrieve it. You can see his hands shaking. The pot is dented, useless now. He takes it anyway. Further down, an old man stops to rest, one hand clutching his chest, the other dragging a rope behind him with nothing tied to the end. Maybe he forgot what it was for. Maybe he just can't let go of the feeling of pulling something behind him. A memory of burden. As they pass, something inside you drops lower. You thought the waiting was the worst part, but this quiet reminder that the world is still full of people who are not warriors, who will not bleed on command, who carry their griefs in bags instead of blades. It's worse, because they're not running, they're not crying, they're just leaving, as if the outcome is already decided, as if they've seen this same row of armored men before and it always ends the same. You watch them vanish into the haze beyond the camp, swallowed by smoke and distance and time. And once they're gone, the silence they leave behind feels heavier than the armor on your chest. You shift your weight again, eyes forward, and tell yourself to focus. But the image lingers. Because now you know what you look like from the outside, like someone already gone, someone no one plans to follow. A hand rises beside you, fingers trembling as they sketch a crooked cross into the air. The motion is slow, deliberate, but clumsy, as if the man doesn't quite believe it'll help, only that not doing it might be worse. He finishes the gesture and brings his knuckles to his lips, eyes closed tight, whispering words you can't hear. Maybe a prayer, maybe just names. On the other side, someone spits onto the ground, a thick, angry sound that cuts the quiet. No gesture, no pretense, just spit and scorn, as if cursing the whole thing might keep death at bay. You don't know which one makes more sense. Somewhere behind you, another voice murmurs, soft and shaking, "I won't see the next moon." You don't turn around. You've heard that sentence too many times, from too many mouths, and sometimes it's true. Sometimes, by the end of the day, they're gone. Sometimes they're right. The line of men isn't straight anymore. Some have shifted back a pace, others forward, like waves forming and breaking. The air between you is full of breath and fear and noise that isn't quite noise. Shuffling boots, creaking belts, the twitch of fingers on hilts. Another man begins to sing under his breath. Not a song for marching, not a hymn. Something wordless and circular, like a lullaby without comfort. His voice is too soft to follow, but it carries just far enough to be felt. You try to steady your legs, which are beginning to ache from standing so long, but the armor makes every adjustment feel clumsy. Your shoulder itches under the chainmail, and you twist to reach it, but the movement feels unnatural. You settle again, breathing through your nose, ignoring the smell, the smoke, the sweat, the piss somewhere in the mud behind you. All of it blends now. Ahead, a soldier raises a tiny wooden charm to his lips, kisses it, and tucks it into his shirt. You recognize the shape. A crudely carved figure, maybe a saint or a mother, or something meant to be both. His hands shake as he does it, and when he lowers them, they don't stop. You see it in the way he grips his shield, too tight, like he's afraid it might float away. To your right, someone is muttering steadily, rhythmically, like a chant or a list. Maybe names, maybe regrets, maybe he's counting the seconds. You don't ask, you just listen. The rituals are different for everyone. One man holds a bone fragment, another presses his face to a piece of cloth and inhales like it holds his memory. Another rubs the same spot on his blade over and over with a fingertip, as if smoothing steel could smooth his thoughts. No one tells you what to do. There's no ceremony, no priest, just men, each clinging to the thing that makes them feel a little less hollow. You watch them, all of them, and wonder what yours is. You try to think of home, of warmth, of someone who might be thinking of you. But nothing comes. Your mind is quiet, too quiet, like it's hiding from what it knows is coming. You feel a weight in your chest that isn't metal, that isn't hunger, just a slow heaviness pressing inward. You grip your sword tighter, not because you believe it will save you, but because it's the only thing you still understand. Someone ahead whispers something again, a name maybe. Someone else says, "Amen." Another spits again, defiantly. You don't join them, not in the prayers, not in the curses. You just wait, unsure which you believe in more, the blessing or the doom that always follows it. The first strike is so low it almost isn't sound. It rolls through the camp like a shift in air pressure, more felt than heard. A slow, muffled thump that seems to rise from the ground beneath your boots. Then another, and another, each one spaced evenly, steadily, like the footfalls of something enormous approaching from far away. No shouts, no horns. Just that single, heavy beat repeating. The line stiffens. Men straighten their backs, some reflexively, others as if pulled upright by the sound itself. You do too, your breath catching in your throat, your fingers tightening around the hilt of your sword. The drum doesn't hurry. It doesn't change tempo. It just insists. Each note lands with the weight of inevitability, and already you feel your heart falling into step with it, sinking like prey to the rhythm of a hunter. The sound comes from beyond the edge of the camp, where the command tents are pitched and the officers speak in voices they think are private. You can't see the drummers, but you don't need to. You know who they are, boys, mostly, or old men too broken for the front. Their job is not to fight, only to remind you that the fight is coming. They strike the stretched hide in perfect time, hands practiced, faces blank, ears deaf to fear by now. The beat is slow enough to mock you. Not fast like a charge, not frantic like alarm. Just measured, certain, like a clock made of dread. You feel it in your sternum, in the soft tissue behind your ribs, in the base of your neck. The sound doesn't just reach you, it enters you, takes up residence, begins rearranging your breath without asking. Around you, the others start to adjust. Some shake out their limbs, flex their fingers, roll their shoulders in preparation. A few murmur again, prayers growing louder now, no longer whispers. The beat gives them permission. It signals a shift, not quite movement, but the preparation for it. You feel the chainmail pressing into your collarbone again, your back still aching from standing so long, but now there's something else. Adrenaline. Not the sharp kind that pushes you forward, but the slow, creeping sort that prickles at your scalp and makes your mouth dry. You blink. The world feels different, flatter, like sound has become the only real dimension. The mud underfoot seems thinner, slicker, more alive. Each breath you take is too loud in your ears. But still, the drums go on, unchanging, unmoved by your fear. You try to count the beats, to anticipate a shift. Maybe after 40, they'll stop. Maybe at 50, the horn will blow. But the rhythm denies you that logic. It doesn't build, doesn't drop, doesn't care about your guesses. It just continues, like a spell cast across the field, turning you and everyone around you into shadows of yourselves. Still figures with loud hearts. The man beside you closes his eyes and taps his thumb against his thigh in time with the drum. The one on your other side spits again, deliberately now, like punctuation. And you do nothing. You just stand and let the sound dig into your chest until you can no longer tell whether your pulse is chasing the drum or the drum is chasing your pulse. Either way, they are one now. And together, they march forward into whatever waits. It doesn't come from the battlefield. Not yet. It comes from somewhere behind you. A sharp yell, close and ragged, followed by a scream that breaks off halfway like a rope snapping under weight. Heads turn instinctively. So does yours. The line shifts, eyes scanning the camp behind the formation. And there it is, just between the tents. Two figures, one on the ground, the other standing over him with something dark and short still clutched in his fist. A blade. A tool. A weapon not meant for war, but used all the same. You can't hear what he says, if he says anything at all, but the look on his face says enough. Rage, panic, regret. Maybe nothing at all. Someone rushes toward him, someone else shouts for a guard. You watch, but no one moves quickly. No one moves like it matters. The damage is already done. The first blood has been drawn, and it wasn't by the enemy. The man on the ground writhes for a moment, then stops. There's a pool growing beneath him, spreading unevenly into the dirt, darkening the already filthy earth. You don't know who he is. You don't know who the other man is either. Maybe they were friends. Maybe they argued about food or space, or just got too close when the tension frayed. Maybe one touched the other's shoulder at the wrong time. It doesn't matter. The pressure inside the camp had to go somewhere. The drumbeat, the waiting, the prayers, the fear. It all piled up, hour after hour, breath after breath. And now, it's found a crack to burst through. A knife in the gut, a scream in the cold air, a man who couldn't take it anymore, and another who won't get the chance. The rest of the camp turns away slowly, one by one, as if agreeing not to carry the image forward. A few soldiers laugh, not because it's funny, but because there's nothing else left in the space between horror and exhaustion. One mutters something about getting it over with. Another spits. Someone nearby says it was bound to happen. That every time the waiting stretches too long, someone breaks. You look down at your own hands and wonder how close you are to the same line. You imagine the weight of your sword turned sideways, the edge pressed not forward into the enemy, but sideways toward your own. You blink the thought away. The man is being dragged now, the living one, his wrists tied with rough cord, not punished, just moved, contained. The body remains for now. No one covers it, no one says a word. Blood still seeps into the ground, mingling with mud, already half absorbed by a world that expects such things. The line closes back in on itself. Focus returns, as much as it can. But something has changed. The tension is thinner now, not because it's gone, but because it's cracked open. The sharp edge of anticipation dulled slightly by real present death. Not imagined, not distant. Here, inside. One of your own. You feel it in your spine, a kind of hollow throb that sits where courage should be. You breathe, you adjust your grip, you look forward again. But the sound remains, not the scream. The moment just after, when the air went silent and everyone knew it was real. That's what lingers. That's what you carry. Not into battle, just into the next minute, because the war hasn't even started yet. And already the camp is bleeding. You don't ask, you just bend down and grab the arms. They're cold already, stiff at the joints, the fingers bent into unnatural shapes like they were trying to hold on to something in the last seconds. Maybe breath. Maybe hope. Maybe just the earth itself. The face is slack, mouth half open, eyes thankfully closed. You don't recognize him. Or maybe you do and choose not to. It doesn't matter. What matters is the order, unspoken but understood. Get him out of the way. Not honored, not buried with words. Just moved, like waste, like something broken that needs to be hidden before the real killing starts. You shift your grip, arms tensing, and begin to drag. His boots catch in the mud. His belt snags on a root. You don't stop. You just keep walking, one step, then another, pulling a man who no longer weighs himself, but still drags like stone. The others watch, but don't interfere. Some glance away, others stare as if trying to memorize his face for later. Maybe to tell someone, maybe just to feel something. But no one offers help. They're busy pretending they might not be next. You pass tents with flapping canvas, a pile of shields, leaning like discarded thoughts. A dog curled beside a fire that no longer burns. The world stays still as you walk, your boots sinking deeper than usual. You feel it in your legs, not just the effort, but the slow recognition that this might be practice, that you might carry more today or be carried. You try not to think about it, but the idea clings to your spine like sweat. The man's head lolls to one side as you round the corner of a cart, his cheeks scraping against a stone. You wince, but don't stop. He doesn't feel it. And there's no dignity left to damage. At the edge of the camp, there's a pit. Not wide, not deep. Just enough. Someone dug it hastily, the line still fresh, the sides crumbling with damp earth. There's already someone inside. You don't look at the face. You just adjust your grip and lower this one beside the other, arms folding strangely, legs not quite aligning. You don't fix it. You step back and wipe your hands on your cloak. The blood is dry now, but it sticks anyway. Your fingers ache from clenching, your shoulders from pulling. You breathe through your mouth. The smell down here is different. Not worse, just final. A kind of warmth in the rot, like the earth is reclaiming what belongs to it. You hear a shovel behind you. Another body is coming. No words, no markers, no pause. Just weight and dirt and time pressing downward. You turn away before the shoveling starts. You don't want to watch. You've seen enough. As you walk back toward the line, you notice how no one meets your eyes. Not out of shame, but out of fear that recognition might tether you together. That knowing who carried who makes it harder to forget what's coming. The man you dragged, he was strong once. Or kind, or cruel, or just tired. Whatever he was, it's gone now. And you didn't ask his name. You didn't ask why he died. You didn't even ask when. You just carried him. Because that's what this place does. It teaches you to move the dead without question, and to bury the weak before they make noise, before they become a mirror, before they remind anyone how easily a man becomes a burden. You find the bucket near the edge of the mess tent. Not really a tent anymore, just a slumped canvas over a splintered table and a few crates. The bucket sits on a tilted stool, half covered by a rag that's more dirt than cloth. You lift the cover and see the water. Cloudy, greenish in the light, with specks floating like ash and something darker sinking slowly to the bottom. A dead fly clings to the rim. Still, your throat is dry enough to crack. You take the ladle, tilt it, and drink without thinking. The taste is immediate, metallic, sour like something pulled from a rusted pan and left in the sun too long. It scalds your throat, not with heat, but with wrongness. You swallow hard, coughing halfway through, but you drink again. There's no other option. Your body doesn't care about taste. It wants moisture, and it will take it no matter the cost. The water sits heavy in your gut, thick as if it had weight beyond liquid. You feel it move inside you, not quenching anything, just occupying space. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand and try not to gag. Others are waiting behind you. A man with cracked lips, another pressing a rag to his brow, a boy who doesn't even have a cup. No one complains, no one dares. You step aside and let them take what they can. The bucket's already half empty and the surface is filmier now. You can smell it from a distance. That warm rot, the metal tang, the quiet decay of a camp that's run out of good water. You remember clean water from somewhere, maybe a river, maybe a well in a town whose name you've forgotten. It tasted like nothing, like peace. This tastes like fear and iron and something that shouldn't be swallowed at all. Your stomach turns, but you hold it down. Vomiting would mean thirst again, weakness again. You've seen men curled behind tents, clutching their bellies after water like this. Some recover, some don't, but you needed it. The smoke has dried out your throat, and the ash you breathe lingers on your tongue. There's no stream here, no fresh barrel rolling in from the rear. Just this, old buckets, rain when it comes, and puddles skimmed clean of bugs by desperate hands. You crouch beside a crate and breathe through your mouth, trying to settle the ache building in your gut. Around you, the camp groans with similar discomfort. Soft gasps, men clutching their sides, a few already lying back, eyes closed. One chews a root, slowly, mechanically, like it might keep the sickness away. Maybe it does. You don't have one. You feel the heat rising from your core like a fever waiting to bloom. It's not just the water. It's everything. The smoke, the blood, the noise building again behind the tents. Your head swims for a moment, and you steady yourself with one hand on the crate. You tell yourself it will pass, that your body just needs time to accept what it's been given. But there's a pressure behind your eyes now, and a twitch in your fingers you can't explain. You look back at the bucket, where a man now lifts the ladle with shaking hands, his teeth chattering, though it isn't cold. He drinks, grimaces, and mutters something under his breath. You don't hear what. Maybe a curse, maybe a prayer, maybe just the last sentence his body will say. You close your eyes and breathe, deep and slow. The pain in your throat dulls slightly. Your stomach still burns. You're not better, but you're not worse yet. And in this place, that's all you can ask for. You're doing it again, threading arms through chainmail, tugging leather straps with fingers that no longer want to cooperate. The armor is cold, but less so than this morning. It's warmed by your own sweat now, heavy with the staleness of your breath and the hours of waiting. The motions are familiar, but not easier. In fact, they're worse. Your hands shake as you pull the weight over your shoulders, fumbling with the buckles. You miss the holes once, then twice, and curse softly under your breath. Not because of the delay, but because your body is betraying you. The same straps you tightened this morning now feel like they're strangling you. The same padding now chafes your neck. You try again, finally threading the clasp, and when it clicks into place, you feel a strange pang in your gut. Not satisfaction. Resignation. All around you, others are doing the same. The sound of metal scraping against metal fills the camp like insects buzzing just out of reach. Some work fast, eyes sharp and focused, movements automatic. Others, like you, move slower now, not from laziness, but from the knowledge that what you're putting on may not come off again. A man near you curses as his gauntlet slips from his grasp into the mud. He picks it up without even brushing it off, just slams it onto his hand and pulls the strap tight with his teeth. Another man is adjusting his helmet strap for the third time, then just rips it off and starts again. You see the twitch in his jaw. You feel the same in yours. The armor creaks when you twist to check your sword. It pulls at the bruises on your ribs, rubs at your skin with the kind of intimate cruelty only worn steel can manage. It fits worse now. Or maybe you've changed in the last few hours, maybe both. You fasten the last buckle and let your arms drop. Everything feels smaller now, tighter. The mail clings closer to your chest, the leather digs harder into your thighs. It's not just physical, it's the space inside you that's shrinking, the space for air, for thought, for anything but what's coming. You glance at your hands and see they're still shaking. Not violently, just enough to remind you that something inside you is unraveling, thread by thread. You flex your fingers, try to steady them, but they won't listen. You think about eating something, drinking more water, but the thought of swallowing turns your stomach. Behind you, someone lets out a laugh. Short, sharp, hollow. Another tightens a strap until the leather creaks. The final gestures of men preparing to become part of something they no longer control. The armor is on now. There's no taking it off. Not until it's over, one way or another. You crouch for a moment, trying to stretch your legs, ease the pressure on your back. The movement makes your armor shift and pinch. You wince. You stand again. Around you, the final adjustments are ending. The noise of preparation fades into silence, broken only by the occasional cough, the rustle of cloth, the snap of a strap. The stillness is worse than the noise. You feel it settle over the camp like a lid. There's a heat in your face now, in your neck, as if your body is protesting the weight pressing in on all sides. You roll your shoulders, trying to loosen them, but it only makes the chainmail bite deeper. Everything is tight. Your armor, your breath, the skin stretched over your bones, the thoughts packed behind your eyes. You stand still, armor in place, sword waiting, and realize that the only thing you've truly managed to wear today is fear. And now it fits perfectly. The sound cuts through the air like a blade, sharp, clear, and impossibly distant, though you know it's not far. The trumpet rises above the camp like a call from something bigger than you, something old and certain. It slices through the fog of fear and smoke and noise, a clean note meant to bring order. You hear it, and your body reacts before your mind can catch up. You shift your weight, tighten your grip, adjust your stance. The sound tells you, form up, get in line, follow. It promises coordination, discipline, control. It's the sound of strategy, of ranks and banners and a plan. But your heart doesn't follow that rhythm. It staggers in your chest, lurching and uneven, tripping over itself like a drunk in the dark. The trumpet calls for structure. Inside you, there's only chaos. You can't remember if it's the signal to move or just to prepare. You look around trying to read the faces near you, but no one looks certain. A few begin to step forward, others hesitate. The line becomes crooked in an instant. A man shouts something, not the trumpet's voice, just his own, strained and cracking. Someone responds with a curse. The stillness that held the camp a moment ago begins to dissolve. The trumpet calls again, louder now, longer. It tries to gather you all like sheep, to herd the fear into a shape. But it can't reach what's inside your head. There, the voice is not a trumpet. It's a roar. It's the sound of too many thoughts trying to speak at once. What if I fall? What if I run? What if I kill? What if I don't? The sound inside doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about signals. You take a step, not because you know where to go, but because standing still feels more dangerous. The mud sucks at your boots, but you move anyway. The man beside you bumps your shoulder, and neither of you speaks. The trumpet calls again, its tone stretching into something that almost sounds like music. Almost beautiful, if it weren't soaked in dread. You want to believe in it. You want to think that whoever blew it knows what they're doing, that there's a plan beyond this noise, that someone somewhere can see the whole field. But the trumpet can't see you. It doesn't know you. It doesn't care. It's just sound. And it lies. It says, we are ready. It says, we are united. It says, we're going to win. But your mouth is dry. Your thoughts are scattered. And the man in front of you is already whispering prayers again. You form into something that resembles a line, not perfect, not straight, but close enough to look like obedience. The trumpet has done its work, in a way, not by giving you courage, but by forcing you into movement, by making stillness unbearable. You stand now among other men who also don't believe in it, who also shake, who also want to scream, but none of you do. The trumpet calls again, one last time, and then falls silent. The echo lingers, stretching into the space it leaves behind. Your ears ring. Your heart stutters. The promise has been made. Something is beginning. But you know better. You know it already began, hours ago. In the mud, in the waiting, in the body you carried, in the water you drank. The trumpet only makes it official. And still, somewhere in you, you want to believe it. You want to pretend that the note was clean, that the order was clear, that you are something more than chaos in borrowed armor. But the lie is too thin now, and it echoes inside your skull like laughter. It begins as a shimmer at the edge of your vision, a faint movement along the line where earth meets sky, not sound, not shape, but dust. You blink once, then again, and it's still there. A pale smear rising slowly into the morning light, broadening with each breath, like a curtain being drawn across the horizon. You can't see what's behind it. That's the worst part. You see no figures, no armor, no flags. Just the dust, climbing higher, thickening as it moves, thrown into the air by the feet of something coming closer. You know what it means. Everyone does. You don't need a scout or a call or a shout. That wall of dust carries more than particles. It carries certainty. They're on their way. They're real. They're close. You swallow and your throat sticks. It isn't dry. It's locked. The line reacts without speaking. Shoulders tense, backs straighten. A few men adjust their helmets, even though they've already adjusted them 3 times. One man lowers his head and mutters something too soft to hear, while another starts to tremble, just slightly, enough for the tip of his spear to tap the ground. Tap, tap, tap. The sound is swallowed by the growing hush. Even the birds have gone still. You look to your left, then your right, trying to find something steady. But all you see are the same wide eyes, the same clenched jaws. No one asks if it's time. No one says they're scared. But you feel it, a pulse running through the line like a shared heartbeat. Not strength, not unity, just the quiet shock of knowing that soon your body might not be your own anymore. The dust rolls forward like smoke, thickening into swirls that dance between rays of light. It's beautiful in the worst way, golden, soft, even glowing at the edges. For a second, it doesn't look like war. It looks like something sacred. And then it moves again, faster now, spilling over hills and low shrubs, swallowing the land as it comes. You squint into it, hoping to see something. A glint of metal, a raised banner, a shape too solid to be wind. But there's nothing, just the knowledge. They're there. They're hidden, but moving. You try to steady your breathing, but each inhale tastes of dry earth and ash. Your chest feels tight. Your fingers twitch against your weapon, not from eagerness, but from the need to do something, anything, other than wait. A man near you wipes his nose with his sleeve and leaves a streak of dirt across his face. He doesn't notice. No one does anymore. Someone whispers, "They're coming." The words fall flat, obvious and useless, but hearing them out loud is like striking a bell. The line shifts again. Not forward, not back. Just a ripple, as if the entire group has exhaled at once. You feel your knees begin to shake and you lock them stiff, afraid that if you bend, you won't be able to rise again. The dust is thicker now, close enough that you can feel it on your tongue, a gritty film coating your teeth. Your eyes sting. You blink rapidly, but the image doesn't change. Still no enemy, still no clash, just the curtain, just the signal, just the moment before everything becomes noise and steel and pain, and somehow that's worse. Because imagination can be crueler than reality. You picture them clearly, taller, stronger, faster. You see their eyes, though you've never met them. You see their blades, already bloodied. You see your own body falling before theirs. The dust hides them, but your mind doesn't. And now the dust is almost here. And you haven't moved, and it's too late to run. You don't see it begin. You hear it. First, a thud, far and low, like someone dropped something heavy into a wet pit. Then another, sharper, and then a tangle of sound that doesn't separate into parts. Shouts, metal, panic, bodies. You're not in the front. Not yet. You stand in reserve, armor on, sword drawn, waiting for the command that hasn't come. And so you listen. Your ears stretch toward the field ahead as if listening could prepare you. It can't. The noise is sickening. It isn't rhythmic like training, not clean like drills. It's messy. It's jagged. It comes in waves, screams swallowed by metal, grunts broken by sudden silence, the unmistakable crack of bone under force. Someone yells a name. Someone else stops yelling altogether. The dust from earlier still floats in the air, but now it's tinged red and it tastes like iron. You shift in place, not because you want to, but because you have to. The waiting burns. It's like standing at the edge of a fire, too close to step back, not close enough to be consumed. The men around you fidget in similar ways. One adjusts his grip for the 10th time. Another chews on a strip of leather, face pale, eyes locked forward. No one speaks, not out loud, but their bodies scream. A man 2 rows ahead throws up into the mud, and no one flinches. You hear the wet splash, the gasp that follows. Behind you, someone whispers a prayer in a tongue you don't understand. You don't ask what it means. You barely understand your own thoughts now. Every sound from the battlefield crashes into your chest like a drum. You wince when you hear something snap, not wood. Bone. That sound is unmistakable. You try to picture what's happening ahead, but your mind refuses to help. It flickers between fragments. The way blood pools in armor. The way a man jerks when pierced through the gut. The way screams change pitch depending on where the pain lands. You know too much to imagine anything noble. You've seen what real fighting looks like. It's not glory. It's not honor. It's confusion and fluids and the sudden weight of a friend going limp against your shoulder. You listen for signals, a horn, a call, anything. But all you hear is the storm of bodies slamming together again and again. Every few seconds, another scream erupts. Some are short, others go on too long. And through it all, you remain still. Not safe, just waiting. Part of the machine that hasn't been used yet. But every noise makes you flinch as if the blade were already coming. The commander paces behind the line, eyes narrowed, hands behind his back. He doesn't speak. He just watches. Maybe calculating when to send you forward. Maybe deciding who looks expendable. Maybe just pretending to be calm for your sake. It doesn't matter. You're not thinking about him. You're thinking about the blood on the wind, about the way one man's scream sounded exactly like laughter before it broke off, about how your stomach has gone hollow. You grip your sword tighter, your palms are wet, you try not to let it slip. Ahead, the noise rises again, a chorus of metal on metal, a grunt that turns into a howl and then silence. A different kind of silence, the kind that follows a shift, the kind that says one side just lost something important. You brace yourself. Maybe it's your turn, maybe it's not, but either way, you've already heard enough to know. The battle has begun. And it's already taken more than it gives. They start to appear through the haze not long after the clash begins, shapes limping, dragging, crawling through the smoke and dust. At first, you think they're returning fighters, maybe runners or messengers. But as they get closer, you see the way they move. Bent, uneven, hands pressed to open wounds, faces twisted not in rage, but in something deeper, something quiet and lost. One man stumbles past with both arms hanging limp, blood pouring from a wound you can't see. Another walks as if sleepwalking, one eye gone entirely, the other wide and blind with shock. A third has a gash across his throat, still breathing somehow, mouth open, but no sound coming. He opens and closes his lips like he's speaking, but only blood answers. None of them scream. None of them beg. The pain has moved beyond that, into silence. They don't look at you. Maybe they can't. Maybe they've forgotten how. Some collapse just behind the line, falling with the soft sound of sacks hitting earth. Others are caught by those waiting in the rear, camp aides, boys too young to fight, old men with cloths and buckets and hands that tremble. You see one try to lift a wounded man, only for part of the man to remain behind. There's no reaction, no cry of horror, just another attempt, another grim pull, another smear of red across the dirt. You feel your stomach turn. You try to look away, but your body won't let you. It's drawn to the broken, not out of morbid curiosity, but out of warning. This is what you'll be if luck doesn't follow you. This is what your body might become, a collection of wounds dragging itself toward the memory of safety. Some of the wounded crawl on their own, using elbows, knees, even teeth when necessary. One man pushes himself forward with a piece of someone else's spear still embedded in his thigh. Another has no face left, only red, only torn edges and breath coming through holes that shouldn't exist. You hear someone vomit behind you. You don't turn. You just stare as a boy no older than 15 reaches out for a medic, hand shaking, fingers gone, just stumps soaked in blood and dirt. He doesn't cry. He just stares at the ground, waiting. Maybe for help. Maybe for death. No one tells you to help them. No one says to stop and carry them. The line must hold. You're part of that line. And so you stand and watch as the wounded pass like shadows, leaking parts of themselves with every step. They keep coming, not in waves, but in steady trickles. Some walk upright, some crawl. A few are carried, but most come alone. There's no glory in it, no music, no banners, just the awful slow parade of those who made it back, or something that used to be them. You count them without meaning to. Each one is a number that pushes closer to your turn. You grip your weapon tighter, Your fingers are numb again. You try to steady your breathing, but it won't settle. Not after what you've seen. Not after what you know now. The battle is still going. You can hear it. But the part that matters, the part that reaches you, is this. The quiet return of the wounded, eyes wide, mouths closed, bodies leaking from every edge. They don't speak because they can't, but they tell you everything anyway. It doesn't come as a command, not a shout, not a signal, not a speech. It comes as a shove, a hand on your back, hard and sudden, and you're moving forward whether you're ready or not. The line ahead has broken or thinned or simply vanished, and now your group, the reserve, the waiting, the watchers, is being pushed into the space left behind. Someone stumbles beside you. Another curses under his breath, eyes wide, feet dragging. You try to step with purpose, to move like someone who knows where he's going. But your body has other ideas. Your legs feel thick and clumsy. Your breath is too fast, your chest too tight. The weight of your armor has doubled in the last minute, though no one added a single strap. Your vision narrows, not from pain, but from something worse, the creeping flood of understanding. This is it. You're part of the push now. Bodies close on all sides, boots pounding against mud and roots, metal clanking with every uneven step. The ground shifts beneath you, soaked and torn from the earlier fighting. Somewhere ahead, the sound of screaming sharpens again. It's no longer distant. You can hear the strain in it, the rawness, the wet ends of it, the point where it turns from voice to noise. You grip your sword so tightly, your knuckles ache, but you can't loosen your grip. Behind you, more pressure builds, someone else pushing. You glance back for a second, enough to see the line swelling behind you like a tide. There's no going back, not unless you want to be trampled. Or worse, marked. Cowards don't survive long out here. They disappear without a body, without a name, without a story. You keep moving. The first shapes come into view, figures crouched in the haze, the curve of a shield, the flash of something sharp. You're not close enough to strike, not yet, but the space between you shrinks with every step. You feel it in your bones, in your teeth. The men around you stop being separate. You're all one thing now, moving with one breath, one terror, one direction. There's no room to stop, no time to think. You hear someone sob once, sharp and quick, like a hiccup. You hear someone else whisper for their mother. You pretend not to hear either. Your mouth is dry again. You're aware of your heartbeat in your tongue, in your ears, in the joints of your fingers. The line surges. You step again. Mud splashes against your legs. Something shifts beneath your foot, soft, like cloth, like a body. And still, you move. Not because you're brave, not because you want to, but because you must. The shame of staying behind is heavier than the fear ahead. Even if your legs give out, even if your stomach empties into the dirt, you keep moving. Because they're watching, because they're following, because someone behind you will not hesitate to push harder. The battlefield waits ahead, a storm made of men and steel and blood. And you're at the edge of it now, just a few steps more. The shouts become clearer, the shapes become enemies. You raise your weapon, not with skill, but with panic. And in that moment, between the last step and the first strike, you understand. The push isn't just physical, it's everything. It's fear, it's memory, it's survival. And it's too late to wonder what happens next. Because now, it's your turn. The ground beneath you is no longer solid. It gives way with every step, not like earth, not like mud, but like flesh. You don't just slip, you sink. Your boots disappear into something soft and wet, and when you try to pull them free, it resists, like hands grabbing at your ankles from below. The mud is thick with more than water and soil. It's heavy with spilled blood, crushed bone, torn cloth, and something else you don't name. You step again, and your foot lands on something that shifts. It's not a stone. It yields just enough to tell you it was once part of someone. You look down. A face stares up from the sludge, half covered in muck, one eye open, the mouth gaping in silence. You jerk away, almost falling. The line behind you pushes, and you have no choice but to keep going. You step on him. You feel the skull collapse beneath your weight. The sound is everywhere. Screams, wet and dry, raw and ragged, some long and rising, others cut off mid-breath. They blend into the clash of weapons, the clang of steel, the hollow thunk of blade meeting shield, the dull snap of ribs giving way. It's not a song of war. It's not music. It's chaos in its purest form, and you're inside it now. Someone rushes past you on the left, swinging wildly, eyes wide, face streaked with soot. A sword catches him low across the stomach, and he folds inward, dropping without a word. Another man stumbles into your side, grabs your arm, and mouths something you don't hear. His jaw is broken, blood bubbling between his teeth. He falls too, taking your balance with him for a second. You stagger, regain your footing, but your legs are shaking now. Not just from fear, from the effort of staying upright in a field that moves under you like it's alive. Your own blade swings, but you don't remember deciding to move. It hits something, someone, and glances off armor. You swing again, harder, and this time it connects. You feel it travel through your shoulder, down your arm, into your wrist, into your fingers. You don't know if it was fatal. You don't stop to check. You move forward again, one step, then another, slipping in blood and rain and filth. The man ahead of you takes an axe to the back of the head. His helmet cracks with a sound like splitting wood. He drops instantly, and his blood splashes across your face. Warm, thick, salty. You wipe your cheek without thinking, smear it further. The screaming grows louder, closer. You realize now that some of it is yours. You've been shouting, not words, just sound, just noise to hold the rest back, or maybe to match it, to not feel alone in it. You're surrounded now, pressed between shoulders and blades and shields and bodies that fall without warning. You swing again, you push, you slip, you rise. You shove a man away and hear him gasp as a blade finds him the moment after. You smell everything at once, metal, sweat, shit, blood, earth, fire. A body brushes past you, missing an arm. Another collapses at your feet, eyes rolling, hands pouring at his throat, where nothing is left but a hole. You can't stop. You can't look. You just keep going. Your hands are shaking. Your feet are wet inside your boots. The mud is deeper now, thicker, warmer in places where blood has replaced rain. You step on something that writhes and realize it's someone still alive, reaching upward with shredded fingers. You move past. You have to. If you stop, you die. If you think, you die. The mud moves, the faces scream, and all you can do is keep your head above it, for now. Your arm moves before your mind catches up. The sword rises, then falls, not from precision, but from sheer instinct, an animal reaction to the shape lunging toward you. You don't aim, you don't even look. The blade hits something with a sickening jolt, and there's a grunt, a stumble, and the splash of a body falling into the mud. You don't pause. You can't. You swing again. The edge glances off armor. You swing a third time, wide and clumsy, and nearly lose your grip. Your wrist burns. Your shoulder jerks. The man beside you is bleeding from his face, but he doesn't notice. He's swinging too, over and over, like it's the only thing that will keep him alive. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But here, in the chaos, there's no time to weigh the difference. You can't see clearly anymore. The air is filled with smoke, dust, steam, and bodies. So many bodies, shifting, shouting, slamming into one another like waves. You don't know who's friend, who's enemy. You strike at whatever moves wrong. Sometimes you hit flesh, sometimes metal, sometimes nothing. Your world has narrowed to your arms, your blade, and the few feet around your feet. You can't hear your own thoughts over the roar. It isn't just noise, it's a wall of sound pressing down on you, drowning out reason. You keep swinging, not because you think you'll win, not because you believe in the cause. You swing because the only alternative is standing still. And standing still means dying. So you move, again and again, the rhythm of survival. No style, no strategy, just motion. Your arms begin to shake, not from fear, but exhaustion. The sword feels heavier now. the grip slick with sweat and blood. You can't remember how long you've been fighting. Minutes? Hours? The battle has lost shape. There's no line anymore, just scattered violence in every direction. You bump into someone's back, whirl, almost swing, but it's one of yours, panting, blood running down his shoulder. He nods at you with dead eyes and moves on. You almost fall as you pivot. Something catches your foot, maybe a corpse, maybe a shield, and you stagger, barely catching yourself. You swing again, not because you see a threat, but because your arms don't know how to stop. It's not about aiming anymore. It's about not being the first to fall. You see someone go down ahead of you, not from a wound, but from hesitation. His blade pauses in mid-air. He hesitates just for a second. That's all it takes. A spear catches him in the ribs. He gasps, folds, drops. Gone. You don't let yourself think about it. You swing again. Your elbow burns, your jaw clenches. You scream, not at anyone, not for help, just to hear your own voice against the flood. And then you swing again. It's not skill that keeps you standing. It's desperation. It's reflex. It's the refusal to lie down before they make you. You're not fighting for victory. You're not fighting for honor. You're fighting because something in you won't stop until something else makes it stop. And here, in this churn of blood and blades, that's the only rule that matters. Swing, or be slain. Someone screams your name, not once, twice, 3 times. The voice rising above the clash and chaos in a way that freezes your blood more than any blade could. It comes from somewhere behind you, or maybe to the side. You can't tell. The battle has no direction anymore, just sound and motion. But the voice is unmistakable. Raw, torn, desperate. Someone who knows you or knew you or just remembers your name from another life, another camp, another morning before all of this. For a second, your body stalls. You turn your head, squint through the smoke, trying to find the source. A dozen figures move in and out of view, shouting, stumbling, falling. But the voice cuts through them all, calling again. There's panic in it, pain, maybe blame, maybe a plea. You don't know. But you hear it again, louder this time, almost begging. Your name doesn't sound like a name anymore. It sounds like a wound, like something broken being held up for proof. You take a step in the direction you think it came from, ducking as a blade whistles past your shoulder. Your heart is pounding so hard it drowns out the rest of the field. You scan faces, shapes, bloodied mouths, gaping eyes, none of them yours. Then you see him, collapsed near a fallen standard, half covered in ash and mud, hand raised, lips moving. It's him. You don't even remember his name at first, just his face. Shared rations, shared jokes, shared misery in the rain 2 weeks ago. His leg is gone. Not wounded. Gone. A stump wrapped in cloth that's already gone black. He's pale, eyes wide, mouth open in something between scream and sob. He calls your name again. And now, there's only one thought in your head. He won't stop until you come. You hesitate. It's not cowardice. It's calculation. If you go to him, you'll be exposed. You'll be open. You'll slow. You'll risk everything. But if you don't, if you stay where you are, you'll carry that voice forever. That sound, that plea, that knowledge. He sees you. See him. His eyes brighten, just slightly, with something like hope or relief or fear. Maybe he thinks you're coming to save him. Maybe he just doesn't want to die alone. You take another step toward him. A body crashes between you, a soldier screaming, face split open. You backpedal, swing your sword blindly, force yourself forward again. The mud is deeper here, the blood fresher. You're almost to him now. He reaches out, his fingers twitch. And then, another shape, dark and fast, a shadow, with steel. You react too late. The blade falls, not on you, on him. His scream never finishes. His name, your name, cuts off mid-breath. You swing at the shadow, hit something soft, feel it fall away. But it's already done. He's gone. Just like that. You stand there, heaving, dripping, staring at the body that was just calling for you. the mouth still open, the hand still reaching. But the eyes are empty. You don't know what you feel. Guilt, rage, emptiness. The battle doesn't stop to let you decide. Another shout, another rush, another blade. You move again, not toward him, but away. Because there's no time, no space, no meaning left here, only motion, only noise, and a name that now echoes differently in your ears. Yours, once yours, now his. Screamed into the void and unanswered. It happens slowly at first, not an order, not a shout, just a shift in movement. The man beside you stumbles backward, then holds. Another glances over his shoulder, then takes a step too. No one says the word, no one dares. But it's clear you're moving back, not in panic, not in surrender. Just a step, then another. Just enough to breathe again, just enough to not die right here. The ground is thick beneath your boots, heavier with blood than it was before. You drag your feet more than lift them, glancing around to see if someone will call it desertion, if someone will grab you and throw you back into the line. But no one does. Everyone's too busy doing the same. You take another step, still alive, still holding your weapon, still pretending this isn't what it is. Litz, the front is no longer a line. It's a blur. You see shapes breaking off, falling, crawling. The screaming hasn't stopped, but it's thinning, not quieter, just further away. Behind you, you hear someone barking instructions. Not your name, not even words you understand, just noise meant to herd you like animals. You ignore it. You move sideways, trying to avoid a body that didn't make it back. You don't look at the face, you don't have to. The smell is enough. You blink away the sting in your eyes, smoke or grief, you can't tell anymore, and keep your pace steady. One step, then another. You're not running, not braking, just repositioning. That's what they'll call it if anyone asks later. You weren't pushed back, you adjusted, you yielded to preserve the formation. Anything but the truth. You retreated because dying there wouldn't have changed a thing. A man ahead of you stumbles and falls. He tries to get up, but slips on the mud. You reach for him without thinking, grab his arm, and yank. He groans, but he's up. For now. Neither of you says anything. You don't know him. He doesn't know you. You're not friends. You're not even comrades. You're just two men who haven't died yet, and that's enough. You both move again, backward, slightly to the left, avoiding another cluster of fallen. Somewhere behind you, you hear a horn. Sharp, short, too late. It doesn't change anything. You're already leaving. Everyone is. The withdrawal has begun, but it still wears the mask of control. Shields are raised, blades held out, eyes forward. But feet move away. No one runs. Not yet. That would break the illusion. And if the illusion breaks, the line breaks. And then it's all over. You reach a small rise, a slight incline of earth barely worthy of the name hill, and stop. Others gather around you, forming something that looks like a group. It's not. It's a pause, a breath, a moment to find out if the enemy is following. You turn, half expecting a charge, steel flashing through the haze. But the field behind you is still. Bodies, broken gear, smoke rising from places you didn't see catch fire. You scan the edges for movement. Nothing yet. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they're regrouping too. Or maybe they're letting you go, knowing the shame will follow you further than they could. Around you, men pant and curse and cough. No one speaks of what just happened. No one dares name it. Not yet. Because as long as you're standing, as long as your back is straight, as long as your blade is still in your hand, you haven't retreated. You've simply taken one step back. Because right now, it's still allowed. You cross the last stretch of open ground with your head down, boots dragging through mud that's colder now, or maybe your skin just can't feel warmth anymore. The camp comes back into view, tents slumped from rain and smoke, gear scattered like debris after a storm, fires burning low with no one tending them. You tell yourself it's a place of rest, that here at least you won't be cut open. But even before you reach the edge, you know it's a lie. The camp isn't home. It's just where the pain waits to take a different shape. Your armor groans as you walk, your shoulders scream, your legs tremble with each step, and your sword arm feels like it's filled with wet sand. You don't know how long you were out there. Time vanished with the first scream, but now you're back, and it's worse, because there's no enemy here, just the weight of what didn't kill you. No one welcomes you, no one cheers. The few who stayed behind glance up, then quickly look away. A boy carries water in a cracked bowl, eyes wide, mouth shut. A woman sits on the ground, rocking back and forth with her hands over her ears. An old man picks through torn canvas as if fixing a tent might hold the world together. You pass them all like a ghost. You don't want their attention. You don't want their pity. You just want to stop moving. You find a crate, or maybe it's a broken cart, and sit. The weight of your body feels unnatural, like it doesn't belong to you anymore. You rest your sword against your knee and stare at your hands. They're black with grime, streaked with blood, trembling. Not from fear, from fatigue, from the cold that crept in during the fight and never left. You clench them into fists, then release. There's no strength left. Nearby, someone is groaning. Not loud, not for attention. Just a slow, constant sound of a man whose body has betrayed him in some small but vital way. You don't look. Another man is arguing with someone over rations. Too few, too late, too spoiled to matter. A medic limps past with blood on his apron and eyes that don't focus. The smell of burnt meat drifts from a fire pit, but you know it's not food, not real food. You think about eating, but your stomach coils at the thought. You think about sleeping, but your muscles are still locked in the memory of movement. You sit, unmoving, watching a line of ants crawl across your boot. One is crushed under the buckle. The others move around it without pause. You envy them for that. The camp isn't shelter. It isn't peace. It's just another layer of the same misery, only thinner. There are no blades here, but there are memories. No screams, but the echo of them, constant in your skull. You thought coming back would feel like survival, but it feels like failure, like you left pieces of yourself out there, and what returned is a quieter version, a cracked shell. You glance at the others who made it back. Some sit like you, some wander. No one talks. Not really. Not yet. You catch eyes with one of them for a second. He looks away first. You're not sure if he sees what you see, that this place, this camp, isn't behind the horror. It's part of it. Just another battlefield, slower and quieter, where no one dies quickly. Only in pieces. Over time. And now you're here again, sitting in the middle of it, waiting for the next pain to find you. The smell hits you before you see the fire. Thick, greasy, sour. It crawls into your nose, coats your tongue, settles somewhere deep in your gut, like a stone. It's the scent of meat, yes, but wrong. Too sweet at the edges, too sharp. You slow your step as you near the mess pit, where a blackened iron cauldron bubbles lazily over an uneven flame. Smoke curls from the edges of the fire, grey, then black, then grey again, and the stew inside churns with a rhythm that feels alive. Someone stirs it with a ladle longer than your arm, the handle stained with old grease, the rim coated in something that clings like fat. You don't ask what's in it. You don't want to know. The smell is already enough to make your stomach twist. You close your mouth to avoid tasting it on the air. A man beside the pot wipes his face with a filthy sleeve and nods to no one in particular. He mutters something about it being ready and scoops out a ladleful into a cracked wooden bowl. The liquid is thick and brown, streaked with oil, laced with lumps of something unidentifiable. Sinew, skin, or maybe just roots too long in the dirt. He hands the bowl to a soldier who looks no older than 16, whose hands tremble as he accepts it. The boy stares into the contents, lips pressed thin, then turns away without eating. You understand. You've seen meat rot in the sun. You've smelled death when it's fresh, and when it's been left too long. This scent, it's somewhere between. Something boiled, something ruined, something stolen from a body that no longer has a name. You hope it's animal. You hope with everything in you. But hope doesn't change the smell. You sit near the edge of the gathering, far enough from the pot to breathe, close enough to watch. A few men eat without hesitation, shoveling food into their mouths as if the taste doesn't matter, as if hunger has already broken through whatever wall of revulsion they once had. Others gag halfway through, then force the next bite down with eyes closed. No one speaks, no one thanks the cook, no one asks what kind of meat it is. The silence around the fire is thicker than the smoke. You hear the bubbling of the stew, the soft clink of metal against wood, the groans of men too tired to protest. One man throws up behind the tent, another scoops up a second helping. There's no order here, just need, just exhaustion. Just the blur between survival and shame. Your own hunger gnaws at you, but you don't move. You stare into the flames and think of the battlefield, of what was left behind, of what might have been gathered, of the smell that followed the wind back into camp. The fire crackles. The smoke stings your eyes. Someone asks for more salt, and someone else laughs, sharp and joyless. You wonder if you'll eat later, when the memory of the faces fades, when the burn in your throat drowns out the questions in your mind. You tell yourself it's just horse, or goat, or whatever they found near the woods. You tell yourself you didn't hear the rumors. You tell yourself that in a place like this, people still draw the line somewhere. But the longer you sit, the longer the smoke wraps around you, the more you know. That line blurred days ago, and now it's just meat, just flesh, just another part of war no one dares name. Darkness doesn't fall. It sinks. Slowly, heavily, like a blanket soaked in oil, pressed down over the camp until every fire becomes a flicker, every voice a murmur, and every shape something that might be watching. But with the dark comes no rest. There's no relief in it, only a different kind of weight. You sit against a post that used to hold a banner. Now it holds nothing but shadows. Around you, the camp shifts softly. No songs, no laughter, just movement. A man nearby groans with each breath, curled into himself like he's afraid of his own skin. His eyes are open. He hasn't blinked in minutes. You hear someone sobbing behind a broken cart, the sound barely louder than the wind. Another figure walks slowly between tents, whispering to no one, his steps uneven. The darkness makes it harder to see, but it sharpens everything else. The pain, the breath, the thoughts that won't quiet down. A voice rises in prayer, not far off, low and rhythmic, a chant spoken more from memory than belief. The words repeat over and over, as if repetition alone could form a wall against the things that cling to your mind. You've heard this voice before. You don't know his name, but you've stood near him in line, seen him patch a wound with shaking hands. Now he prays like a man who's forgotten how to ask for anything. Across the camp, someone shouts once, then falls silent. No one goes to check. There are other sounds now, soft grunts, rustling fabric, the rhythmic scrape of something sharp against something softer. You glance sideways and catch a figure hunched over his own arm, dragging a blade across skin with careful, practiced precision. He doesn't cry out. He doesn't stop. The blood runs freely down to his fingers, and he lets it. You turn away, not out of disgust, out of recognition. You try to close your eyes, but your body won't let you. Your legs twitch, your shoulders ache, your stomach knots each time you hear a footstep too close. Sleep would be surrender, and you're not ready to let go of the thin thread that holds you upright. You press your back harder into the post and breathe through your mouth. The air is colder now, but your skin still sweats. Somewhere in the dark, someone begins to hum, a slow, broken tune, rising and falling like a lullaby, half remembered from a time before all of this. It almost works. Almost. Until the wind shifts and brings with it the scent of old blood, unwashed flesh, burnt hair. Then you're awake again, more than ever. The camp isn't sleeping. It's unraveling, quietly, in pieces, beneath the surface. The night hides it, but doesn't stop it. It just slows the unraveling to a crawl. You lie down eventually, not because you want to, but because your legs no longer hold you. The ground is damp, the earth cold. You wrap your arms around yourself and pull your cloak tighter. There's no comfort in it, just the pretense of a barrier between you and the world. Above you, stars blink through smoke, distant and uncaring. You wonder how many men in how many camps have stared at those same stars, whispering the same prayers, tasting the same dirt. You hear another man coughing now, wet, deep, close to breaking. The prayer continues. The self-harm has stopped, for now. The sobbing fades, but the stillness doesn't come. Only more night, more noise, more proof that even when the blades stop swinging, the wounds don't. Not out here, not in this place, not tonight. You close your eyes again and hope you don't dream. You don't take the armor off. You don't even loosen the straps. There's no strength left in your fingers, no time for comfort, no illusion that the night is yours. You lie down in the dirt, still laced in iron and leather, and let the weight press into your ribs. The links of the chainmail bite into your collarbones, your back, your thighs. You feel them all, but only vaguely, like memories of pain rather than pain itself. Around you, the camp exhales in slow, uneven waves. Some cough, some whisper, most lie still, pretending to rest, pretending not to listen for footsteps. You curl into yourself as much as the gear allows. There is no pillow, no blanket, only your helmet, tilted to the side like a discarded bowl and the dry taste of ash in your mouth. Your body no longer knows how to relax. Every muscle fights the idea of rest. Your knees twitch, your fingers flex involuntarily as if still gripping a sword. The throb in your shoulder hasn't faded since morning, and the bruises on your ribs bloom larger with every shallow breath. But still, you lie there, still armored, still silent, still waiting. The cold creeps in through the gaps in your mail, settling deep into your spine, your gut, the arches of your feet. You think for a moment of the last time you slept in a bed. You try to remember the feel of linen, the smell of straw not soaked in sweat. You fail. That part of you is gone, like so many others. You sleep in what you wear because there is no other choice. This isn't a pause. This is just a thinner layer of exhaustion between today and tomorrow. The stars blur above you. Or maybe that's the smoke. Or the tears you won't admit are there. You don't move to check. Your head feels too heavy to lift. Somewhere nearby, someone mutters in their sleep. Another lets out a strangled gasp, then falls quiet again. You hear none of it clearly, but your body registers every shift, every sigh, every scrape of leather. Your armor creaks faintly as you adjust your leg, trying to relieve the pressure from a sharp rock beneath your calf. It doesn't help. You accept it. Pain is just one more layer of what you carry now, like the dust, the sweat, the blood. You close your eyes. Not out of trust, not out of peace, but because your body demands it. There's no ceremony, no moment of reflection, just darkness and silence, and a breath so shallow it barely counts. When sleep comes, it doesn't arrive gently. It hits like a stone to the temple, sudden, merciless, complete. You drop into it without warning, without resistance, as if collapsing through a trapdoor. No dreams, no memory, just blackness, as if you've vanished from your own mind. Your body doesn't twitch, your mouth doesn't move. The armor stays in place, pressing into you, marking your skin in patterns you'll never see. The world moves on around you, fires dim, boots shuffle, rats scurry through discarded scraps. But you're not part of it. Not for now. You're somewhere else. Or nowhere. And that's the closest thing to peace you've felt in days, in hours, in a lifetime, maybe. Tomorrow will come. It always does. But tonight you're gone. Just another body in the dirt, still dressed for war. And that was just one day. Not the worst day, not the bloodiest. Just one of many. A day in armor, in dust, in fear, with no songs, no glory, no promised ending. You lived through it, not because you were brave, but because your feet kept moving, your heart kept pounding, and no one stopped you. So wherever you are lying still now, let this be enough. You made it to the end, not of the war, but of the telling. Sleep a little easier, knowing that it's over, at least for tonight.